Okay. After I read something that I wrote, and a couple comments from board members, and then we're going to give an opportunity for people from the audience. We need to turn it up a little bit. I think so. I'm
not sure.
Hold on.
What's going on?
What mic
6. Number 6 is on. Here we go. And as I said earlier, we'll give you an opportunity that if you just raise your hand, we'll bring a microphone for you, and then you can make some response. So everybody knows, I think, in terms of Kim's tenure at Frederick, that her daughter came here at a very early age, became a volunteer at the age of, I think she was still a toddler when she was going down the halls. But Kim has made Frederick very much a part of her life, and we want to have Kim remember us to be a real part of hers as well. So I'm going to read a poem that I wrote, which is a little bit of reminiscing, and then I'm going to, as I said, get a little interview and have an opportunity to hear firsthand from Kim. So, Kim, you are moving on, but before you do, here's a little poem just to embarrass you. A trusted response in the middle of the night, whether an unruly pet or a spider bite. Pie is smoking in the microwave. Alarms are sounding, and you're there to save. The heat is off, the phones aren't working, my computer is down and a stranger is lurking. Could you look at my bed? I think it's bugged. My cat just died and I need a hug. The swans have escaped, a dog messed in my yard, and I can't get into my access card. Remember when our water was infected, when Legionella was found and all the chlorine injected? When blizzards covered roadways and we were snowed in, overnight stays again and again. Those Veterans Day programs that all did revere, the slides and the faces, some no longer here. And dear little Julie, who is now full grown, you brought her to Frederick and she became our own. You served on committees, too many to mention. To policies and procedures you brought our attention. Remember when you took over risk? We had confidence in you, but boy, you were really upset. Yet you did it well. And compliance too. Certification was a challenge, but you got through. Kim, you have been there for others to offer comfort or cheer. You've made a mark at Frederick to all that's clear. So now in conclusion, though not all has been said, we wish you success in all that's ahead. So my first introduction to Kim, and she'll remember this well, she had been here a little while before I was with the previous CEO, and was the executive administrative assistant at the time. And I came in for my first day of work, and the prior place where I worked, everybody wore shirts and ties. And the board had decided that Frederick was to move in a little more casual direction, business casual, but casual direction. And she was standing in the office when I came in, very much willing to greet me and ready to help me as the new CEO. And her first words to me were,
Lose the tie. And I still tell Mike. Every day, but he doesn't listen.
Yeah. And she's the only one who could ever get away with that, so I lost the tie. But the board had not informed me that we were going the casual route, so in my defense, right? There's a word here from our board president, Warren Tyson, who shares the sentiments of the board as well. Kim, the Frederick board cannot possibly be aware of the many ways you have invested in and impacted the community through the years. But we have been grateful to have confidence in your leadership of our compliance and risk management programs at Frederick, both of which have significant ethical and legal implications for the board. Thank you for keeping us and our community compliant and informed. And we want you to know we wish you the very best in your next leadership role. And I know that Michelle Forcell, who's one of our board members, is also here today to have this celebration with you. I'm going to read just a couple things, and then this may remind you who are in the audience some things that you can think about Kim as well. So, kind of roles, responsibilities, interjections where help has been needed. This is kind of the things where she's taken on a number of different roles. Friend and first responder, multi-talented, institutional historian, entertainer. She's a singer, by the way. And Kim, we have you lined up to do a special number a little later. Receptionist. She has helped to bring in new telephone systems and computer systems, has done business cards, orders the magazines. She's done strategic planning, hyperchlorination processes, on duty and on call, bedbug and scabian vermin exterminator, policewoman and carpenter project manager and postwoman coordinator, director, arbiter, negotiator, fire department liaison, interior designer, social organizer, troubleshooter. And one big thing that I'll remember of Kim forever is she's among the most prominent stars and Stripes Forever promoter that I've ever seen. And those of you who have seen the veterans programs and slide presentations he puts on, you know how much of her heart goes into that process. So, and I'm not sure, based upon your leaving us, when you officially are done. Is it at 5 o'clock today, or is it midnight tonight?
Probably midnight tonight.
So those of you who need something from Kim yet, you still have till midnight tonight to get it. So we, of course, will have something for you, present you as a gift and a keepsake at a later time, and I know Mike has talked with you about that. But I know you would like to hear and interact with the folks here. So why don't you just say a couple words, and then I'll give a quick interview, and then we'll move on.
All right, so we're going to try and do this without crying. I've been practicing all week. It's been a wonderful, here we go. 15, all right, you all want to see me? Is this better? Yes. It's been a wonderful 15 plus years. I'm not leaving Frederick because I hate Frederick. You all know I love each and every one of you, residents, staff. I promised myself I wouldn't do this. I'm leaving Frederick to bring down the task list a little bit, to balance out my life a little bit, make a little bit more money, and my heart will never leave Frederick. You all know that. The staff knows that. They have all been told that they can call me at any time, even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, to ask me a question. So I thank you for all your words of advice, especially to the senior leadership, to my RL team, Karen, Katie. You've been wonderful, and I love you all.
And everybody out here loves and appreciates you too as well, Kim. I'm wondering if there is a certain moment over your 15 plus years where you thought, I just can't do this, and you pushed through. Everybody has a time in their life where you have an amount of responses and a repertoire of responses that you can bring to bear on something that helps you think about, I can do this, I can do this. And you have to sometimes push through where you don't think that can happen. Can you think of a spot where that was?
I have a couple, but I'll only name one. So as many of you know, I've moved through many positions here. I started out in accounts payable and payroll. I was Noel. Noel replaced me. I then moved on in 4 months to be the assistant to the CEO. When John came on, I worked for John for almost 2 years, and the RL position came up. And John saw how much the residents interacted with me and I interacted with them. It was a great fit. Not that John and I had this big fight and he was kicking me out of his office. That wasn't happening. So I moved over to Oak Tree and I've been there ever since. But along the way, I've gotten tasks and then tasks taken away, but some things stayed along those ways, right? So I got purchasing. So I took all of purchasing across all of the campus. So every department was purchasing their pens, for instance. And this department was buying them for 50 cents and this department was buying them for 35 cents. So I brought it all together, one price, everything's good. Okay, well then compliance comes along and I'm approached with compliance. I'm thinking, oh my God, they've gotta be kidding me. There's no way I'm gonna be able to. Mike just died.
She's gone red.
Now I gotta turn up the other one.
5.
Are you going to fix that before you leave?
Sure. Yes. So compliance comes along, so they're going to take purchasing away from me and they're going to hand it off to Isabella and I'm now going to do compliance. Well, compliance scared the living crap out of me, I have to tell you. They're talking policies. I never wrote a policy in my life. They're talking legal. Thinking, oh my God, now I've got to make sure that the board knows what they're doing, that the senior leadership knows what they're doing, even though I know they know what they're doing. But if anything comes down the pike regulation-wise, I got to make sure that it's fixed so that we're good to go when survey comes around, right? Did not want to do that at all. Well, then Jeanette De La Rosa, who was our then PC administrator, she decided she's moving to Florida. So she had risk. So guess who got risk? So I got risk. Again, not as bad as compliance, but still a lot of legal work in risk, right? If you have a lot of falls, you have a lot of skin tears, if you have elopements, med errors, you name it across the board, I've got to be on top of all of this and on top of the compliance. So there's a couple things that have scared me to death that I've overcome. One last comment about risk is I had to take a certification in risk. Oh my goodness. So there were about 15 modules and 3 courses within each 15 module. Well, the first test, so you have to watch an hour webinar and then take a test for each one of those. So my first one, I scored a 40. I thought, oh great, I am not the one that should be doing risk, right? It's all the legal mumbo jumbo. I really needed to just focus on what I was doing. I got through it. I did it in less than a year because they're lengthy. And I am proud of myself for doing that. So thank you for the push.
I want to share one more experience and then we'll let you all ask some questions if you'd like, and or just say thank you in any way you'd like. So this was back a while ago now, and I think the introduction to this experience kind of made both of us like just with the deer in the headlights kind of look. And some of you residents were here at the time, but we discovered a Legionella in our water supply. Neither one of us had ever encountered anything like that or had the community at all. And what transpired after that, what Kim can remember, is the middle of the night chlorination process. We'll just talk about, just very briefly, but kind of give an overview of that hyperchlorination process.
Okay, here we go. The 1 minute of a 12-hour day, okay? So hyperchlorination is visiting every single sink and shower on this campus, tagging them out that they cannot be used. Come back here to the boiler room, empty the boiler room, all the water towers get emptied, okay? They get filled with chlorine. We go back to every single sink and shower on this campus, turn the water on, let it run until it tests high for chlorine. It then sits for 4 hours. You can't drink, you can't do anything with water for 4 hours. After the 4 hours, everybody runs back. Every shower and sink has to be turned back on and flushed down to a normal ppm level of chlorine. That's hyperchlorination in a nutshell. Every single sink, water fountain, shower head, you name it, on campus.
Yeah, exactly. And we had to do it more than one time, right? We had to do it 5 different times. And of course, Kim, working with the independent living residents, had a huge part in that, meeting some of you at 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Most of you with smiles, a few scowls there and there. But yeah, but that kind of went on that risk side where we have to eliminate risk, or at least minimize risk. And when you've never encountered anything before, you get that kind of a deer in the headlights look and say, we got to do this, how do we go about doing it? And fortunately, we had the right kind of partners to do it with, and the perseverance of the team to follow through with that. A little bit less kind of a heavy title. Let's just think about Julie. And when Julie first came in, I can remember her and you at the receptionist desk having her sit on her lap. Where Julie is now, briefly, because most people probably would know, but not. But if you have a special memory of somebody that interacted with Julie, or you saw Julie interacted, just share that for a moment.
So Julia started here. I started here the first day of Julia starting first grade at New Hanover Upper Frederick. So she was 5 years old. So her first summer, she comes to work with me every day, okay? Every day. She ran these halls, did my mail, did my errands. When I got purchasing, she was delivering supplies. We had adult daycare then. And she would go down and she would help read to the residents in adult day. She loved Kit. For those of you that remember Kit Petrowski, loved her. Esther McCauley worked in the mailroom delivering stuff for her. She is now a graduate of dental hygiene, working full-time, has her bachelor's degree, loving life, and doing so well. But of course, loves Frederick. She also worked in dining and reception too, when she was old enough to work here.
Thanks, Kim, and it was good to know that Julie, we had some influence on Julie, maybe even going into healthcare.
Yep.
So that's an exciting, and we hope more of our staff will take advantage of that kind of thing as well. And we'll see a lot more people who have been at Frederick going into this field of senior living and healthcare. So, okay, we'll open it up now for questions you might have, statements you'd like to make. Kim, if you would remain where you are, and then we'll come up with you a microphone as well. So, anybody? We got one in the back, right back there. Jean.
Number 6.
Don't make me cry.
Kim, I've been here through all those days with you, and I appreciate all you have done for us, and even for me personally. Thank you. We'll miss you.
Thank you, Jean.
I've been here as long as Kim has. Kim is the hardest working, kindest woman I've ever met. And I'm going to miss her terribly.
Thank you.
My background was in education, and then when I retired, I went to work for the courts. So I've been around a lot of really sharp, wonderful people. I've never met anyone like Kim. She's the most capable. She just amazes me. And I don't know how we're gonna do without her. It'll take 3 people to fill her role. Thank you, Kim. You've been wonderful.
Thank you, Carol. It's 6 people.
Kim, I want to thank you for all the wonderful years we've had together. You are more than just, oh, I'm sorry. You're more than just a plain friend, and I thank you so much for all the expertise you, no matter what I asked you, you knew the answer. And I especially want to thank you when God took Fred home to heaven. You came at 10 o'clock at night on a Friday night, you and Kara, and stayed till 2 in the morning and took care of everything. And I'll never forget you. And we love you and we'll miss you very much. Thank you for everything you do. And I hope you're very happy in your new job. God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you, Martha.
When my husband passed away, when my husband passed away, his medications that I went to get rid of, I checked what I should do with them. And they said to call Kim. I thought, who is Kim? Because we weren't here that long. And when I saw her and I had this basket bag with all of his medications that weren't used, I thought, why can't they tell me where I can just take them and I don't need to bother Kim? Because I understood then later on that she was a very busy person, and I felt so sorry to hand her that bag.
Yeah, I haven't handed my medication duty off yet. I don't know who's getting that. Probably the township.
She even taught me how to use the iPhone.
And what a task that was. But we made it, didn't we, Jed? Uh-oh, here we go.
Hi, my name's David Chris from the Villas. I just want to say we moved here 11 years ago, Kim, and you were the most grateful person. You helped Ann and I quite a bit. You were helping me now with my wife, and we certainly appreciate it. You've heard from about 8 women and no men, but the men love you too.
Aww. Thank you,
Right?
David.
Very much, very much. And one last thing is I hope we have an internet address for you just so we can communicate with you and, say things and let you know how we're doing and how things are going. So we appreciate it. Again, we all love you, dear.
Thank you. I love all of you too. And I will leave my private email address so you can email me, yes. I will respond, probably at 3 in the morning.
All right, Kim.
Uh-oh.
3 years ago, I was so excited to come in for an interview, and I was so nervous because I desperately wanted this position. I was shaky. I'm sitting with Kara and Laura, and they said, oh, we're just waiting for Kim to come in, to talk with you. So I'm talking with Kara and Laura. All of a sudden, Kim storms in. How is she with HIPAA compliance? I said, I think I'm pretty good. All right, she's good for me. Walks out. And that was the start of a beautiful working relationship. In the 3 years I've been here, I've bought a house, I've gotten engaged, I've gotten married, and I've had a baby. And you have not missed any of those celebrations with me personally. I appreciate that, and I appreciate everything you've done for the staff and the residents here at Frederick.
Thank you, Katie. I see a face back there. Bill O'Donnell's in the house. Hi, Bill.
Hello. Who's going to call me when we have our next fire alarm here?
I haven't handed that off yet.
And believe it or not, 6 years ago, I was up there and I retired. So, good luck to you, kid.
Thank you.
So, a little over a year ago, when I came to interview, the thing that impressed me the most was your suntan. And as someone who only burns, I want the recipe for your suntan oil. But I also want to recognize Kim for the role she's played in my orientation to Frederick living. She has been my go-to person when I've needed information. And I also want to assure you that being the professional that Kim is, the past 3 or 4 weeks, our transition plan, she led. So she's up there saying she doesn't know who she handed it off to, but Kim has a linear Excel spreadsheet, and every task that she did, She gave us recommendations, she handed over the files, keys this morning I have to legal, but very professional. And in 40 years of my work, I have not worked with anyone who has been as collaborative and professional in a transition. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Annette.
So here's the upside and the downside of an event like this, right? There's other employees in the room. Just because you have all these people here that are saying nice things about you, don't think about leaving, okay? Please stay at Frederick. But everything that's been said is certainly deserved. I would just want to comment one last time that in my early days at Frederick, I was learning an awful lot. And Kim had a lot of the details for me, filled in a lot of the details for me. Things like the sewer plant across the road was being threatened. There were a number of different residents who were really upset. There were challenges going on at other levels. And she didn't just dump all of this on me, but she didn't want me to be caught off guard either. And so she was a partner in my early process, my orientation, my onboarding, and has been a good partner in the entire time that she's been here. Determined, available, accessible, and deeply caring. So we love you, Kim. Okay. Let me ask a blessing upon Kim and upon our time. Help yourself to refreshment, and those of you who'd like to come up and speak personally to Kim, please do that. Father, we thank you for Kim, her life, her talents, the opportunities that you've given to her and that she's, through you, taken advantage of, learned from, grown from. Thank you for her bringing Julie and for Julie's investment here and now for her career. We ask that as Kim prepares to go, that you would prepare her in her heart, in her mind, in her emotional well-being, that as she takes on this new role, that she will grow and develop and encourage and provide care and service and encouragement as she has to all of us. We thank you for this time together. Bless our refreshment and our continued fellowship. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
That's it. Thank you.